Venezuela, like many places in Latin America, a cultural landscape. Venezuelan history has its roots in both ancient civilizations and modern globalization. Christopher Columbus made landfall on Venezuelan sand. The rest, as they say, is history. Conquest transformed South American nations like Venezuela, giving them a much different history and a legacy they are still shedding today. The European colonization of much of the world embodied a much larger ideological struggle, one that has carried on throughout the decades and continued into today. Today, this legacy is embodied in the ongoing struggle to democratize the world. Democracy, of course, has its many merits, but to what extent is it appropriate to enforce rulers of nations to adopt them? But more importantly, to what extent is it actually about promoting democracy? Determining whether or not this practice is right or wrong is perhaps beyond the scope of this project. Instead, we will look at one example of this issue and its impact on the relationship of two nations. Venezuela and the United States have been at odds for decades. Here, in the U.S., Venezuela is often viewed negatively.
I think the opportunity exists for the people of Venezuela who have been longing for freedom. They've been living under this horrible dictator. I don't think he will be missed by anybody.
In Venezuela, the U.S. is viewed the same.
I love when I see people from
¿Sabe cómo lo llamó Sean Penn? Sean Penn.
You know how Sean Penn
Sean
called
Penn dijo los estúpidos de Fox
the
News.
stupid people from Fox News.
How is this ideological war waged? Naturally, in the mind. But what is forming these perceptions? Here in the United States, there is a general perception of the Venezuelan government as subversive to democracy. This view is formed by the predominant voices in the news.
This is like a second independence for this great country of ours.
First of all, let's get back to democracy. Let's get back to obey our constitution, and then we can celebrate.
These accusations began with the appointment of Hugo Chavez as the president of Venezuela. Chavez had a long-standing relationship with Fidel Castro and a mind, much like Castro's, for an independent, collective South America. This did not jive with U.S. interests. A South America free from U.S. interference does not coincide with the old, contemptuous term for South America, the backyard. The interesting nature of this long-standing struggle is its many frames throughout the years. There was a time when few knew or acknowledged U.S. influence in the backyard. In that time, the CIA often backed dictatorships in these countries in order to secure economic interests with U.S.-friendly leaders.
By the late 70s, most of Latin America was controlled by dictators, including those like Pinochet, who were openly fascist. All of them were backed, directly and indirectly, by the United States.
However, we live in an age now where even the people living under rocks have the internet and world affairs are only a click away. Since it would only take a single click for someone to see the human rights atrocities these dictators tend to commit, it's no longer in the U.S. interest to back them. Now, it's the battle to promote democracy, or so it's called.
Given the costs and risks of intervention, we must always measure our interests against the need for action. But that cannot be an argument for never acting on behalf of what's right.
Venezuela is a top producer of oil. Much of this is traded to the United States, but when Chavez took presidency of Venezuela, he took some privatization of business along with him. This effectively put many Venezuelan oil companies in the hands of the government. For the U.S., this meant a difference in trade policy. Less oil went to the U.S. and more went to China, Cuba, and other South American countries. Chavez let other people play in the backyard, and the U.S. would have none of it. In 2002, this intolerance reached its peak when the U.S. supported a military coup that temporarily took Chavez from power.
Pienso que lo más razonable para el señor presidente de la República y su gabinete es que o presenten voluntariamente su renuncia o desaparezcan del país.
Once his people took to the streets, Chavez was restored to power several days later. It was then that the U.S. involvement was brought to light and the relationship between these two countries was further weakened. If Chavez was an undemocratic leader, would the people rise up when he was ousted? Or would he win election every time he ran? The elective process in Venezuela is monitored by 3 nations. In addition, the ballots are hand-counted as well as electrically counted. It's a multi-tiered process that is highly regulated, even more so than the election process here in the U.S.
Number 2, he didn't steal the election because, you know what? They have a better election process than we have because they not only have electronic voting, but they have a paper ballot that comes from the electronic. So they have a twofold system.
Regardless of this and other events, many American news organizations criticize Chavez and his election process.
To go out there and make movies would glorify someone like Hugo Chavez that doesn't support the people of Venezuela. He manipulates the people of Venezuela.
On the other hand, how is America viewed by Chavez and his people? Chavez called Bush the devil, but he had a decent relationship with Clinton. The Venezuelan people are divided on their view of the U.S. Those in the lower classes seem to stick with the view of the Venezuelan government. They see America as an imperial nation with undeserved interests in South America. As for the upper class, many frequent Miami and criticized Chavez, echoing the American line and calling Chavez a dictator. It's a curious situation where no one seems to agree. There seems to be a smokescreen clouding the truths in this issue. Did America back the coup? Was Chavez a ruthless dictator? Either way, both sides are defended by politicians, and because of this, much skepticism is required. However, given the Europeans and the US's historically morally devoid behavior in this area and others, perhaps it would be best for our country to stop criticizing other countries for alleged practices that we've been proven to employ. If Chavez was guilty of human rights violations, then so be it. But the U.S. has no better track record in that area or others. We even supported the apartheid regime in South Africa. But breads and circuses and bold stances on foreign policy have been used to distract citizens for centuries. Rome is the prime example of this. We, as a people, should keep our national pride in perspective. We live in a great nation, but a young one with much maturation to go through. Venezuela may not be any better of a place to live, but we should do a more thorough job of cleaning our own house before sweeping the mess out the old back door. We should close it instead, so a new one may be opened.